outcome, you are guaranteed to suffer. Which means that's why so many of us suffer with women. We get attached, emotionally attached to a specific outcome. I want this girl to like me because I think she's hot, or because I think she'd be a good girlfriend, or because I think she'd be good in bed, and we suffer. I add to that, I think attachment outcome is the root of all anxiety. If you think about it, what would you be anxious about if you had no attachment to anything? Life would just be one flow. Let's talk about approach. And I'm going to share a concept. I'm going to share my approach to approach, my beliefs about it, okay? And at first, it may sound a little contradictory to what you learn in this program, but stay with me. I think it will all weave together nicely and actually give you more options, okay? So stick with me on it. And I just want to say, I'm having such a good time here. I mean, listening to talks, listening to Matt this morning. Where's Matt at? Good stuff. I loved his definition of confidence. Now, my definition of confidence has always been to lovingly not give a fuck. You know, if you don't give too many fucks about something, if you're not attached to an outcome, you can act in ways that look really confident. I like what Matt said. His definition is feeling all your feelings. Thought, yeah, if you're feeling all your feelings, what are you afraid of? And if you're not afraid of anything, if you can feel your feelings, what else are you going to be afraid of in this world? Death? Well, even that's just feeling your feelings about death. So I like that a lot. Anthony, where are you at? He took off. Man, here's what I loved about Anthony's presentation. We guys have this, it's just a guy thing. We think we got to line up all the ones and zeros, get everything perfect, make everything work right, then everything will work out perfectly. And it will keep working out perfectly forever. It'll never change. When it comes to the feminine and women, none of that applies, but we think it should. What I loved about Anthony up here is that he was nervous as hell. He walked off and walked by me at the very end and said, oh man, I'm just still, really, anxious. And bless his heart, he got up here and had all of his feelings. He owned them all. He said, man, I'm really nervous. Now, when he said that, let me ask you guys, did you judge him? Were you critical of him? Were you dismissive of him? No, you felt endeared towards him, right? You were cheering for him to succeed, weren't you? Yeah, we all were. That's what feeling all your feelings, that's the effect it has on people. Even if your feelings are making you uncomfortable, by feeling them all, and you guys keep hearing over and over again, just let them flow through your body. Just be with them. It's kind of like, that makes you attractive. It makes people want to cheer for you. It makes people want you to succeed. So I love that. I just love that he personified that dynamic. And by the way, I want to have plenty of time for Q&A today. So let's just work off our basic outline. Approach versus attraction. All right, guys will ask me, well, let me kind of just give you a little background. I did not set out to become like a dating coach or a dating guru. I got divorced 17 years ago in my late 40s. Had not dated since college. I sucked at it back then. Yesterday I told you a few of my really bad dating strategies, like leaving a seat open in chapel and hoping a woman would sit there. I've told that to people. One guy said, oh, I've always had a similar one. I always leave the passenger side on my truck door unlocked when I'm driving around, hoping some woman will just get in and sit down. And I said, that can happen, but I'm not sure it's the type of woman you were looking for, and it's going to cost you a little bit. But, the bad dating strategy. So I had to learn to date. And, so I got out in the dating world in my late 40s with no skills and a lot of self-limiting beliefs. We're going to talk about that today. And I went to work trying to figure out, how does this work? How do you approach? How do you connect? How do you get phone numbers? How do you know if a woman's in a relationship? How do you know when to ask her out? How do you get her naked? I didn't know any of this stuff. So I started, reading, and a lot of my clients gave me stuff. I read The Game and David D'Angelo's Double Your Dating stuff and other stuff. And I just decided just to become a scientist. Rather than going out and trying to figure out how to get women or how to get laid or how to get numbers, I thought, I'm just going to go try stuff. I'm just going to go be a scientist and try things and just see what happens. And it kind of like, we're going to talk about attachment outcome, and I like that subject comes up here as well. I just went out trying to do stuff, and all of a sudden, I started getting real lucky. Things started going well, and my clients started asking me, what are you doing? You're getting dates, you're having sex, and teach us. And I go, I can't teach you, I'm not a dating guru. And they said, well, it's working, whatever you're doing, teach us. So that was actually good. Remember I said yesterday, whatever you struggle with, if you can master that thing you struggle with and become a teacher of it, you can become an expert at shit that right now, boggles your mind and keeps you stuck and frustrated. So I started teaching. Now, the most common question, I lead up to that. The most common question guys ask me is they'll say, what do you do when you see a girl you like, and how do you approach her and get her to like you? I go, what do you mean? Well, I see a girl I like. I mean, you're like in a bar at a party? Yeah. And I go, what do you mean you like her? Well, I like her. She's pretty, she's cute, she's hot. And I go, okay, wait a minute. Words are good to distinguish. There's a big difference between liking somebody and thinking they look hot, right? There's a big difference. So I said, okay, so basically because you see a woman's face or tits or boobs or her body, and your male ego says, my life would be better if that was next to me in some way, you want to know how to get that. And they go, yeah, how do you do that? And I go, I don't know, I don't teach that. Because it's not what I do, and it's not what I've ever done, and it's not what I've had to do. And I'm going to tell you why. Now, I'm going to say, let's talk a little bit about approach, first off. Let's just call it drawbacks. And when I talk about approach, I'm going to qualify this more as we talk. So when I talk about approach, I'm talking about just like cold approach, like I like her tits, I want to get her number. That's, she doesn't know you exist, right? That's cold approach, right? And that's what most of us want to learn how to do. And by the way, most guys that have been traditionally bad daters in their life always pick the very hardest, most difficult thing that becomes their goal, right? I want to be able to walk across a busy room, music blasting, with women, posing and fronting for each other. Every guy in the room's trying to get those women attention, and I want to be able to walk across the room and she automatically responds to me and gives me a number and goes home with me. That's what bad daters want to learn how to do, right? Am I right? Anybody got that kind of agenda? You bunch of liars. You guys have been told to be honest. Okay. Of course, that's why we get involved with this, right? So, but here's some drawbacks. I shared this with Mark last night, and he said, oh, really? Cold approach, I'm going to say just a few drawbacks. I think it's fundamentally invasive. I think you are being invasive to another human being purely because you've objectified them. All right? You know why #MeToo exists? Because the majority of women have felt invaded their entire lives. If a woman is even moderately attractive, everywhere she goes, men have been invasive of her. She goes to the gym, men are invasive. She's on public transportation, they're invasive. Now, if they're going out to a club, dressed up, wanting attention, that's a different context. But just in general, women have been invaded their entire lives. Women are security-seeking creatures. They've never felt safe walking this planet. And so I think a lot of what gets taught is pickup and approach is fundamentally invasive. If a woman doesn't know you exist, does not send you a signal of indicator of interest, when you approach her, they don't know a goddamn thing about you. Who is this guy? What does he want? Is he a pervert? Is he a creep? Is he going to stalk me? Is he going to try to interrupt my workout routine? They don't know that stuff. So guess what women automatically do in that context? Any guess? Reject. They put their guard up, which is going to feel like rejection to us. They put their guard up. Why? Because they're smart. They don't know who the fuck you are. Okay? So, in most contexts, personally, I believe that cold approach is is invasive, okay? It's also based on an attachment to an outcome. You want a specific woman based on some physical traits, because what else are you going on, right? If you haven't actually talked to her, had an interaction with her, purely based on physical traits, you have an attachment to outcome. You want her to respond positively to you, right? Why? Because it's going to make your ego feel good. Because you think, if I have a girl like that on my arm, every guy I know is going to envy me, and of course the sex is going to be hot. That's just male porn fantasy thinking, okay? So it's attached to outcome. Now, to paraphrase, what did the Buddha say about attachment?
It's the root of all suffering.
It's the root of all suffering. He was right. Whenever we get emotionally attached to a specific outcome, you are guaranteed to suffer. Which means that's why so many of us suffer with women. We get attached, emotionally attached to a specific outcome. I want this girl to like me because I think she's hot, or because I think she'd be a good girlfriend, or because I think she'd be good in bed, and we suffer. I add to that, I think attachment outcome is the root of all anxiety. If you think about it, what would you be anxious about if you had no attachment to anything? Life would just be one flow. I also think attachment outcome is the cause of all inaction. As soon as you get attached, you get scared, you get anxious. You know, the costs go up, so you do nothing. All right? Another problem is that if you approach a woman cold, she doesn't know you exist, you've now given her all the power to be the decider. She's the alpha, you're the beta. She has all the power. And even if that eventually works out in some way, she will always be the alpha in the relationship, you will always be the beta. You'll always be trying to please her, keep her happy, make sure she's not upset, make sure things go well, make sure she doesn't leave you, blah, 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 blah. Anybody been in a relationship like that where you spent the entire relationship trying to make her happy and not leave? Yeah, those are not good relationships, okay? Another drawback of approach, the way at least most men go about it, is that I think it is fundamentally shallow and demeaning. Why are we approaching this woman? We like her tits, right? That's why. Now, how evolved is that? Now, there's nothing wrong with liking a woman's tits. I mean, it's wired into us. We like tits, right? There's no question we like tits. But if that's the depth of our attraction to other human beings and the depth of what we think we're going to build any kind of connection or relationship on, it's shallow and demeaning. It's built on body parts, right? Any attraction that is purely about body parts is shallow and demeaning to us and to them. We are more than that. Now, I'm a big believer you should be with a woman you're attracted to. I'm a big believer in that. And if your attraction to women is solely based on their body parts, you're going to be in for a world of hurt. You might as well just stick to porn. You get all the body parts you want right there. You get to pick and choose which body parts you want. Most of us approach women like they're porn objects. Okay, so with that said, and I'm not trying to just put a bummer on everything here, but I'm going to give you an alternative that fits really well with the model being taught here. Now, what I will say, what I've seen with at least conscious approach and conscious pickup, is I like the fact that it often gets guys working with other guys in teams, which is a good thing. That's good for us. And it gets us out of our comfort zone. And as most of the coaches have been talking about, as soon as you consciously move out of your comfort zone, you're going to start feeling stuff. You're going to start having self-limiting beliefs that come up. And the good news is, if you're conscious, you get to work with that stuff. You get to watch it. You get to be the observer, the witness of it. Oh, my brain's telling me she's not going to give me the time of day. My brain's telling me women like her don't talk to guys like me. Or you start feeling what you feel. And I love how Brian and all the coaches in this program take that and work with it. So I love that. Anytime you're out of your comfort zone, that's a ripe area for growing, for challenging yourself, for challenging self-limiting beliefs, for doing the feeling work and the grounding work and the embodiment work that all the coaches in this program talk about. Okay, so there are benefits to getting out of our comfort zone. And that's like I said, this is my opinion about drawbacks of approach. Now, what I do teach men is attraction. For a number of reasons. And I'm going to tell you a few of the reasons. I'm going to tell you what I build that on. I've heard mention already, somebody's mentioned like David Data. I think I've already mentioned, but somebody else said. How many people have read Way of the Superior Man by David Data? Yeah, most of you have. I think it and my book are like, two of the primary books that a lot of men's coaches refer to. I've been to a few workshops with Data. The coach I work with, the men's program I'm in, he's worked with Data for years. And Data's just like, he's just fucking brilliant. But he made a comment, I heard this 10 plus years ago, and it really changed my whole interaction with women, with the world, but with women especially. And he makes a comment, he says, choose a woman who chooses you. When I first heard that, it both resonated with me and confused me at the same time. Choose a woman who chooses you. Now, what I want to do is expand that into what I teach men about connecting with women. What if, let me bring some really poor art skills here. This is a door, believe it or not. A little doorknob right there. This door is closed. That's why I've got all those lines right there. That door is closed. That door's open. That door's open. This door's open. That door's open. What would you prefer? Would you prefer to live in a world where you spend all your time trying to figure out tricks and tools for pounding on closed, probably locked doors and trying to get them to open, and feeling all the frustration and rejection and humiliation of that door never opening? Or would you rather walk through doors that are already open and poke your head around, look around and see what you think? What's it like in there? And what if these open doors, there's always going to be closed doors, but what if there was a lot more of these open doors than what you ever realized? And what if, there's another problem of approach, based on the way I describe it at least, what if one of the reasons we've never seen all these open doors, what if one of the reasons, one of your self-limiting beliefs is, oh, women just aren't attracted to me. Women just don't notice me. Women just aren't interested in me. What if the reason, there's probably several reasons we might think it and believe it, but what if one of the reasons is we've been so myopically focused on closed doors that we've never even noticed all the open doors? Now, these open doors are women who are already choosing you, who are already sending you indicators of interest. They've already noticed you. They've maybe already made eye contact with you. They've already smiled at you. They maybe already laughed at one of your jokes. They maybe already bent over a little bit and showed you a little cleavage. They might have already kind of jutted a hip out a little bit. They might have already touched you on the arm. They might have already stood a little too close to you. But what if, because you didn't know how to read indicators of interest, and what if because you're so myopically focused on this particular door, and what if your self-limiting beliefs don't believe those things actually happen to you, that you never even see all those doors? And can you see how that perpetuates this thinking? Well, women just aren't interested in me. I just gotta find the right approach skills to go get that door to open. And if I just knock on it right, it will open and I'll have this woman of my dreams because she's got a great butt, right? And then sex is going to be great and then guys will envy me. So what if we chose women who chose us? Now all of a sudden, you are the decider, right? They've already chosen. Chris Rock has a routine that once a woman knows if she's going to get with you. One of the things I said last night, and I got confirmation from the one woman there, they know within 30 seconds or less if they're going to get naked with you. They know within 30 seconds. And one of the things I said last night, I don't think it's the thing you jumped up about, but one of the things I said last night to the group was that women do not fuck a man because they've gotten to know him. They get to know the man they want to fuck. So all this attempts at nice guy seduction, oh, I'll let her get to know me. I'll treat her well. I'll listen to her problems. I'll make her car payment for her. I'll do this, do that. And then she'll see what a great guy I am. Oh, and I'll hide my sexual agenda from her. Then maybe in time, she'll want to show me her tits. That shit doesn't work. You end up in the friend zone, right? You end up in men going their own way. So what if all of these women have already felt that energetic impulse of thinking, yeah, maybe. And as Chris Rock says, they're just waiting for us to not do anything stupid to mess that up, right? When I tell women, I teach men to date and teach them about relationships, women want me to pass advice on to you guys. And I think that's why there's women's coaches here, to pass on advice. The most common advice women say to give to you guys is trim your nose hair and your ear hair. Am I right, women? Yeah. Trim your nose hair and your hair. Pay attention to little detail. Women pay attention to little detail. If you don't give a fuck about little details, how do you think they have some faith you're going to be able to find their clitoris? Right? It's for real. They pay attention to detail. The other thing they say is that make sure, tell guys, clean their fingernails and keep them nice and cut and smooth. Yeah, no, I'm getting head nods. And they go, shoes. Their shoes. Have you ever noticed women tend to be into shoes? Right? They look at each other's shoes. Yeah? And they look at your shoes. And you know what they're looking for? Not the make, not how much you spent, but do you give a fuck about your shoes? Why? Because they give a fuck about their shoes, and they want you to know that this man has enough fucks to give to pay attention to what's important to them. Okay? So those are the simple things, all right? It's just easy. Keep the nose hair, ear hair trimmed, keep your nails trimmed, clean, say you clean, keep your clothes looking good, take care of your shoes. All right. That's all superficial, but it's important to women. Now here's the other thing that women they'll kind of get frustrated with me. They'll go, okay, they'll go, all right, you work with men, tell me. Women will say, how come I'll be like looking at a guy from across the room? I make eye contact with him. He sees me. I smile at him. He sees me. And the women say, how come he doesn't approach? I mean, that frustrates me. Go, why doesn't he approach? And I tell the women, because you scare us. And they go, why? And I go, because you're scary. But guys, these are the open doors, right? A woman that looks at you across the room, this is no longer cold approach. This is responding to an indicator of interest. This is responding to an invitation. And by the way, guys, don't wait for a woman to put up a billboard that says, listen, asshole, come ask for my phone number. Or, fuck me, asshole, stop talking, I'm ready, right? Don't wait for women to put up the billboard. That's not how they're wired. Now, there's aggressive women out there that will be pretty bold, but most of them are going to send you signals. They're going to smile at you. They're going to notice you. They're going to, move their body a little bit. It's all pretty subtle. But we guys know, did I misread that? Oh, was she looking at somebody else? Oh, women never do that to me. And so women go, why don't they just approach? Then they ask, okay, let's say I am having a great conversation with a guy. And, the woman says, I'm paying attention, I'm making eye contact, I'm touching his arm, I'm leaning in, showing him a little bit, laughing at his joke, blah, blah, blah. And then the women go, and then the guy gets kind of nervous and then sticks his hand out and shakes my hand and says, nice to meet you, maybe I'll bump into you again sometime. And the women go, why doesn't he fucking ask for my number? Why doesn't he just get to the point? We know why we're talking to each other. Why doesn't he just get to the point, ask for my number, ask me out? And I tell them, because you scare us. And they want to know why. And I said, because you're scary. So, guys, listen. Women do want you to approach. But they want you to approach when they've already noticed you. And in a minute, we're going to talk about how to be the man they notice. Okay, you want to hear that? I assume you do. I think that's why you're here. So, choose the woman who chooses you. You are now the decider. You now get to pick from many options. Did Anthony make it back in here yet? I loved it when he said he was dating, it doesn't matter. He was dating 6 to 10 women, right? at a time. He was the chooser. He was the decider. He had options. Wouldn't you rather choose from a number of great options than feel frustrated about the one that just doesn't open up? And by the way, I tell guys, I work with so many men that get crushes on a woman. Maybe these crushes last for years, right? And maybe the woman doesn't even know he exists. Maybe he's in the friend zone. Maybe he's a girlfriend with a penis. Maybe he does everything, to be her gay friend. But she never even thinks about him in that way. So I tell guys, you cannot spend more time thinking about a woman than you've actually spent interacting with her. Right? Rule of thumb. That means no more porn fantasies about her, no more envisioning what your life would be like with her if you haven't even fucking talked to her. Or if you've been hiding your sexual interest from her and treating her like a friend for the last 5 years, when you really wanted her to be your girlfriend. I mean, I love that you guys talk about honesty, integrity, authenticity. If you want a woman to be your girlfriend, don't fucking hide that from her, right? That's not honest. So, be the chooser, be the decider. Okay, questions so far. Let me pause. I'll take a breath. Let me take questions, and then I'm gonna break down the attraction part. How to be the guy that does attract, and what to do with that once you've attracted the attention. Once you walk into the room and you start noticing doors that are open. Okay, what you got?
What's the main indicators of interest we need to be looking out for?
They're actually pretty simple. Smiles is a big one. Eye contact. Most guys, when we're walking around, if we're kind of looking at a woman and she's walking towards us, as soon as she looks up, what do we usually do? Look away, I got caught. Oh no, she's gonna think I'm a creep, I'm a perv. What does she really think? I'm insecure. And that's what it looks like to a woman. But what if a woman, you're looking and she makes eye contact, you look and hold it, give her a little smile, hold it a little longer than you're comfortable with, look away like you got something else important, come back, and she's still looking, she gives you a smile. Indicator of interest? Now, I'm going to teach you how to test for interest because the male brain goes, but how do I really know? Right? How do I really know? Like guys will ask, dating service people. They're friendly because that's their job, right? I've dated waitresses. I dated one woman for a number of years who sold me shoes at Nordstrom. I didn't know if she was just being nice. At the time my stepson said, Dad, ask her out. And I said, okay. So she said, she actually said, come look me up in women's shoes, because she was working for men's for a sale. I said, why would I do that? She said, I can sell you anywhere in the store. And I said, well, that's fine, but I think you should meet me for happy hour. She goes, okay. And I said, well, how am I going to get in touch with you? She said, I'll give you my number. Just wrote it down. Okay, I tested for interest. I had to find out. She'd just been nice, right? Engaging and friendly. And it was my stepson that said, Dad, ask her out. So I did. And I found out she had high interest. Okay? So I'm going to give you some principles for testing to how to find out. But it's typically the smiles, the look in your direction, if they're closer to you, if they're interacting. It's usually laughing, little physical proximity. By the way, I'm married to a jealous Latina woman. And Latinos in here, you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. ¿Tú entiendes? Yeah. So I've got good over the last few years noticing women, sending indicators of interest. It wasn't until I met my wife that I realized I was just a rookie. And when my wife started pointing out women who are trying to get my attention, and you wouldn't believe it. Like I said, you guys know I just turned 64. Got no hair. What I have is gray. I'm okay looking, not great, not bad. And everywhere I go, women send me indicators of interest. And here's what really is freaky. The majority of them are significantly younger than me. Significantly. I'd never chased younger women. My wife's 22 years younger than me. I met her, I was walking down the street in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, minding my own business. She loves to tell the story. I'm just walking by and I hear a voice that says, Hola, senor, want a massage? And there's lots of massage places in Vallarta. And I got massages, but I rarely walked in off the street. And I looked at her and smiled and said, no, not that, más tarde, mañana. And just kept walking. And I got about 3 or 4 or 5 steps and I thought, I really liked her voice. Her voice was communicating. I thought, I liked her voice. I walked back, ¿Cuánto cuesta? How much? I knew what it was going to cost me. And then I'm married to, we celebrated our 3rd anniversary last month. All because I listened and let it vibrate. Her voice. Hola, senor. Want a massage. And every time she tells that story, she changes the words around. Hola, senor. I won't go into detail. But that's an indicator of interest. And so things like my wife has told me that I didn't know. And there's women in here, you guys can go ask them for confirmation. And not all women are the same. Every woman's got her own personality. But I used to think like, when a waitress like bent over and put a plate on the table and you got a big, shot of cleavage, I thought it's because she didn't realize her boobs were hanging out. They know. And they're displaying them for a reason. I didn't realize that, if a woman knows you're standing in line behind her, that if she kind of, juts a hip out like that, I didn't know that that's a signal. It's a sexual signal in the animal world. We're animals. And, the male brain says, well, how do I interpret that? Does that mean anything? Is it for me? Is it this? Is it that? And I've had so many experiences working with guys, I'll be out in public with them, and women start sending just really, to me, obvious signal, indicators of interest, and the guys are going, oh no, that's not real. You're just making that up. Or, that's not, well, you're gonna have to test, right? Don't guess, test. And again, I'm gonna teach you that. So, if your male brain, and you're gonna have to start training yourself. And I think a lot of training you guys get in this program is really good to help you start noticing when a woman is sending you an indicator of interest. And it's not that she's saying, I want to go home with you. She's feeling something. It's energetic. And maybe she's not even completely conscious of it, but her body is. And her body is energetically sending you a signal. So you do have to test that. But here's the thing. And this is part of the outline. I'll just jump right to it. I'm going to have it a little bit lower, but SLBs. I've heard you guys use the term self-limiting beliefs, okay? One of the beauties of whether we're consciously doing approach or the attraction stuff, it is going to challenge our self-limiting beliefs. Did I read that right? Is it really for somebody else? And this is what gets in the way of most of our success, is we just think, well, women like that aren't attracted to me. Or, women don't do that. Or women who think men, my self-limiting beliefs were attractive women are not attracted to me. And women who think men who want sex are bad. Now, if I have those two worldviews, guess how many beautiful women I notice sending me signals? None. And if I have those worldviews, guess how I'm going to bring my sexual intention to a woman? I'm not. So guess what kind of women I do end up with? None, or women that I'm not all that attracted to, and or I have to put up with mediocre or non-existent sex. Why? Because my self-limiting beliefs only let me see that type of woman. Okay? So one of the beauties about all the work you guys are doing here is that it lets you start challenging these stories you believe to be true. And as Brian and the coaches explain it, those beliefs you have get stored up in your body in feeling states. And the beauty of this work, and again, it doesn't matter if you were like, if this whole program was around how to make money. It'd still be all the same stuff. We got to challenge the self-limiting beliefs, pay attention to our body, get grounded, move that stuff through us, challenge the self-limiting beliefs, and open ourselves up to the flow of money. It's all the same thing. It's no difference. We're just doing it particularly around women in this context. But it's all the same. So, and by the way, most of your self-limiting beliefs just whisper at you most of the time. You're not even aware of the hum of them in the background. You'd like to have a girlfriend. You'd like to have some company, you'd like to have someone to spend time with, but because of your self-limiting beliefs about, well, women aren't attracted to you, or maybe if you get a woman, it'll ruin your life, or what if then you have to break up with her and, she's going to key your car and, post shit about you on Facebook, your self-limiting beliefs just go, just stay home and surf the internet. Yeah, what was that porn site last night we looked at? And your self-limiting beliefs just keep you in these little places. Now, when you come to a program like this, and they say, we're going to talk to women. Now, all of a sudden, your self-limiting beliefs are going to scream at you. Literally scream at you. They're going to paralyze you. And that's when you get to practice being the observer, the witness, just noticing what's the noise in your head that's always there, but you don't notice it till you actually get in the context out of your comfort zone. I'm going to tell you a quick story. Several years ago, I was single. I'd gotten good at connecting. I'd had relationships, and I went out for a jog one Sunday afternoon. I lived in Bellevue, Washington. It's a suburb of Seattle. Bill Gates lives there. Jeff Bezos lived there. Microsoft has 40,000 people. There's just a lot of tech, but a lot of money. I grew up there. It's my hometown, but it has just boomed. And so I was living in the downtown area of Bellevue. Went out for a run one day. Ended up down on a little park on a lake. Just to cool off. It was a hot Sunday afternoon. Went, just sat on the grass. It was one of my favorite little places, a small little park. The lake's real pretty. I went and sat down on the grass, and there's a woman. I mean, mostly families there, a few families, not very crowded, but there's a woman sitting there in a white string bikini with her back to me, just sitting on the grass reading a book. And I thought, I'm going to go enjoy the view. So I sat down about 10 feet behind her and just sat on the grass, didn't have my shirt on, I'm just cooling off. But I just loved the scenery. She was a nice view as well. And then she got up and kind of walked out on the dock, kind of looked around and walked back again. Now, it didn't even dawn on me till sometime later, she was probably letting me see her. It was like an indicator of interest. She didn't know who this person was behind her, but she had this tiny string bikini, perfect, natural, beautiful boobs and body, and whoa. So she sits down, and my brain goes, I heard it. I literally heard the voice in my head. Women like her are not interested in you. Literally, the voice just said it that clearly. And I thought, my ex-wife was gorgeous. Everybody told me that regularly. She was gorgeous. I've dated attractive women. Why is this voice in my head saying that to me? So I thought, I can't just buy into it just because the voice says it. So I thought, all right, I'm going to talk to her. So I just scooted down about 10 feet down the hill on the grass and scooted up next to her, being maybe invasive. I don't know. Maybe she wanted my attention. And there is a God. She was reading a book I had read. Now, how cool is that? Is that a fucking open door, right? She was reading The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Anybody read the book? It's about an autistic kid. It's a good story. I've read the book. I sat down and I said, what do you think about the book? And we just started talking about the book. And, I work with men. It's a story about an autistic kid and work with men. And she was on holiday from Germany with a friend, a female friend. And they had a fight the night before, so she'd gone to the beach to hang out. And so we just talked, and I said, how about having dinner with me later on? And she said, well, I got to talk to my friend first. And I said, okay. I tested for interest. It didn't seem like a super energetic response. She told me what hotel she was staying in, told me her room number. It was about 6 blocks from where I lived, very walkable. So I actually went back to my house, worked, and that evening, I'd pretty much almost even forgotten about it. I thought, I'm just going back down to the beach, maybe I was unconscious, and just go cool off again. I had no expectation she would be there. She still was. I walked down and said, you've been out in the sun for a long time. You probably, it's time to head in. And I said, I got my car here. Would you like me to drive you back to your hotel? And she goes, yeah, I'd appreciate that. And I said, so you up for dinner? She said, yeah, give me an hour. So cut through everything else. My brain says women like that aren't interested in me. The rest of the week she was in town. She fucked me every night that week. And when she left, I know she was falling in love with me. She was intelligent, bilingual, a pharmacist, ran the family company, just bright woman. Right? But if I'd listened to the self-limiting beliefs and believed them, that never would have happened. My life is full of stories like that. I can tell you stories all weekend long, not to impress you, but to say, when you actually just start noticing and walking through, challenging these things and walking through the open doors, really interesting stuff happens. I'm a big believer that a good life is one in which, when you're on your deathbed, you got a bunch of really good stories to tell. And most of them are about embarrassing things. But the more embarrassing, the better. I want you guys to have a lot of good stories. You don't get many good stories pounding on closed doors. You get a lot of interesting stories walking through open doors. Hola, senor, want a massage? I got an interesting story. Okay? All right. So let me throw out just a few pieces, and then I'll open up just to questions. How do you be the kind of man that attracts? And again, luckily, this whole program is about creating that attraction energy, that polarity, the tension. I'm a big believer, and in the book I'm writing on right now, is that women have to experience emotional tension to feel attraction towards a man, to have sexual arousal towards him, and to stay connected to him over time. As I was sharing last night, the problem is for most men, we hate emotional tension, especially in our relationships. Whenever there's tension, we want to fix it, get it to good, so we can kick back and relax and not be bugged. That's what we men do. And as a marriage therapist by training, guess what that does to relationships long term? It kills them. And if the woman we're with wants to be connected to us and we're not creating emotional tension and or we're killing whatever might exist, the woman has to create negative emotional tension. And maybe this is the thing you responded to last night when I said, for a woman, it does not matter if the emotional tension is negative or positive. It turns them on equally. Right? That's why women are attracted to the bad boys. The guy that stole her money and bought drugs and slept with her best friend and they can't get over. You're smiling. They can't get over that guy. But then the nice guy is trying to make their car payment and volunteering to help their sister move. Nice creates no emotional tension. Okay? So how do we be the guy just by the way we walk and enter a room and live our life? How do we be the guy that creates attraction that the world, that all feminine, everything feminine is the world, is money, is adventure, is opportunity, is women, is sex. That's all the feminine, right? How do we be that masculine that creates a polarity that just inherently, naturally attracts them? Okay, one thing I already have up here, we got to keep challenging our self-limiting beliefs. I'm going to put I'm just going to put a couple things up here. I'm writing a whole book on it, but social animal. When I got divorced, I just decided I'm going to be more social. And I started creating a lifestyle where I just got out of the house all the time. If I had work to do, I'd take my laptop, go sit in a coffee shop. I'd spend 4 hours every Sunday reading the Sunday New York Times in a coffee shop. I'd go listen to live jazz. I started going to happy hour, and I'd sit at the bar in restaurants, nice restaurants where I lived, and have my dinner. I'd talk to the bartender. I haven't lived in downtown Bellevue in over 10 years. I still know most of the bartenders' names around town. Not because I drank a lot, because I ate there a lot. I would talk to people on either side of me. I just started becoming a social animal. I got out of the house, and all my Dating Essentials for Men podcasts all end like this. Get out of the house, expand your route, linger in public, talk to the people you meet, walk through the open doors. So I started practicing just talking to everybody. This is what I call the testing for interest. And I probably won't go into a lot of detail now, but I can more tomorrow. Where basically you just engage in social pleasantries with people. And so, for example, you sit down at the bar. You just ask the bartender, how's his day going so far? Ask him his name. Let me ask you a question. How many of you this weekend in this hotel or wherever you've been or wherever you've eaten, how many of you have asked your server his or her name and remembered it? A couple of you have. Good. Make it an ongoing practice. Ask every person who serves you their name and practice remembering it. That makes an impact on people, right? It starts creating an energetic field around you. Right? And then you do these kind of things long enough. I tell people, everywhere you go, I tell guys, don't wait until you see some woman you're attracted to think, all right, how do I interact with her? What do I do now? If you've been interacting with everyone you meet, everywhere you go, that means if you're standing in line at Starbucks, ask the person next to you how their day's going so far. Last night, I think I was coming up here. I don't remember what time last night, but so I was downstairs waiting on the elevator. And as I walked up, there was an African-American woman with a big suitcase and a coat over it, probably taller than me. Just slightly chunky, not fat, just a big woman. And she's you can tell she'd just gotten here. And while we're waiting in between the two elevators, and I'm kind of standing back behind her. And then like a crowd of people come in, and a couple of, I call them the calacas, my Latino brothers. What's a calaca? No pina colada. Calaca, skeleton, a skeleton, right? Calaca. So a couple skeletons walked up on their phones and walked right. You know who I'm talking about when I say skeletons here in Miami Beach? It's all these skinny little women walking around. I'm all it. Look at me. Mírame. I got sunglasses on. I'm so cool. And a couple of these gals just walked right up in front of us and stood at the elevator. And I could feel the woman next to me just kind of, yeah, those. And the elevator door opens. She moves to the back. I move to the back. She's back's here. My back's here. So we're side by side. You know, all the young somethings crowd in. And I said, "You just get in?" Well, it's obvious she just got in. She's got her suitcase in her bag. I'm not hitting on her. I'm just doing what I do. I'm engaging in social everywhere I go. I've been doing it for years. She said, "Yeah." And she's probably thinking, "Oh, men don't talk to her. They're interested in the calacas. You know, the skinny little things, mírame. And I just said, "You ready to relax?" And I felt her body, I could just feel it energetically, just dropped in. She got comfortable. All of a sudden, she was able to escape the stress of traveling, the stress of having a bunch of 20-somethings on their phones cramming into the elevator in front of her. Just somebody just said, "You ready to relax?" She did. I felt it. I could feel it energetically. She relaxed. Dinged. I said, "Have a great stay." I walked out. I do that everywhere I go, with everybody. And if you do that everywhere you go, ask the waiter or waitress, bartender their name. Ask how their day's going so far. No attachment to outcome here, right? You're just being a social animal, creating social pleasantries, making the world a better place. And then what you start noticing is that some of these people you've just been engaging with, because that's what you do everywhere you go, you think, "Well, she was young and attractive, and we just had a nice exchange. And in the past, I would have been scared to death to approach and talk to that very same woman." But you just do whatever it is you've been doing everywhere you go. And then you start noticing some of these people you've been engaging with, you really like their energy. And you really want to connect with them. And the door's already open for it. And then so you get bolder and test in a more bolder way, like maybe take your phone out and say, "Hey, I enjoyed our conversation. Give me your number. I'm going to call you back, and we're going to meet up later this week." Right? And I'll break down level 1, 2, and 3 testing, but you just do something bold so you find out how high is their interest. And even the boldness tends to drive up interest if they've already been showing indicators of interest. So I'm going to challenge every one of you to become a social animal. When you walk into a room, you own it. It's yours. People notice, heads turn. Especially if you walk into a restaurant. My wife and I walk into a few restaurants in Puerto Vallarta, and I know when we walk in, and she wears a new dress every Saturday night. We have date night every Saturday night. I take her to a nice restaurant. Sexy, always sexy type. It's for me. That's her way of saying I love you, right? Everywhere we walk in, you know, it's usually men working in the restaurants in Mexico, but like the head man, most of the waiters all come to greet us, give my wife hugs, you know, shake hands with me, you know, you're here. And I know all the people in the restaurant are looking around, who the fuck are those people? Who's that old white guy and that Mexican woman? You know, why does everybody know them? Why? Because that's the energy we create everywhere we go. So I'm going to encourage you to think about being a social animal. And then what you're going to start noticing is really interesting doors just opening up around you without you having to even work at it or do anything. Then you can get bolder and, you know, like I say, take the phone out or say, "Hey, I'm going to go do this. Come join me." I'm just going to add this and not necessarily go into a lot of detail because it's what you guys are doing here. One thing, we are pack animals by nature. We've evolved in tribe, all right? And in every pack type animal, whether it's a pack, a herd, a pride, a school, a flock, whatever, survival is built around a fused state of every animal in that pack, tribe, herd, you know, school, whatever, somehow looking out for each other. And one of the ways they do this is by signaling danger. And all animals have receptors and receptors and transmitters of anxiety. All animals that are pack type animals do. It's just built into evolution. Notice, like, if you watch birds sometime, a bunch of birds on a telephone wire, and one of them flits up like that. What do the rest of them do? They'll do the same thing. Why? Because one transmitted an anxiety signal and the rest received it and responded. Okay, you know, the old Western movies that they used to make. Always, they had a cattle drive, and somewhere in the cattle drive, you got to have a good stampede. Either because the bad guys come shoot their guns and scare the cows, or a snake or something scares a cow, and then stampede. So what happens is one cow gets startled, has a startled response. All the other cows go fucking nuts. They all start running like, kind of a Gary Larson cartoon or something. Okay, we are like that. We have anxiety transmitters, we have anxiety receivers. Brian just works the shit out of this stuff with you guys. So guess what? If you're like approaching anybody, and you're riddled with anxiety, riddled with self-limiting beliefs, you got tics, you're anxious, as Brian would say, your energy's all up here, and you're tight, and your balls don't exist, and you're not grounded to anything. What are you going to transmit? How's that going to feel to the people around you? Okay, so you're approaching this, and you're wanting it to open, and you're like, yeah, all like this, and that will feel bad. They'll feel it in their body. Brian was talking this morning about women, how so many are so just energetically sensitive. They feel our anxiety states. That doesn't mean you can't have anxiety. When Anthony was up here, he was riddled with anxiety. But he owned it, and he moved it through him, and he spoke it. And none of us were triggered in an anxiety state, right? None of us felt bad because of his anxiety. But if he'd repressed it, and like this, it doesn't exist, I'm going to make a really good impression, and all of a sudden we're going to go, we'll be daydreaming, or we'll be wanting to leave and not know why, or we'll get a headache back here and not know what just happened, okay? So women are really, 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 really sensitive to this. So all the work that Brian and the coaches are teaching you, it's for real, it's serious. It's one of the most powerful things you can do is get comfortable in your own skin. One of the things somebody wanted to talk about was shame, and I think we'll do that tomorrow. We'll do a little shame exercises. I felt shame 3 times yesterday during my presentation. 3 times. Did you guys know? When I told you about being a minister and fucking a member of my congregation, I've told that 100,000 times. I've let go of the core shame around it, and I still felt some come up. Felt like a little bit of fear of judgment. Still felt it. I just felt it. Moved through it. When I told the story about me practicing receiving by letting women give me, blowjobs and take their pride in that, I knew there's a couple women sitting out there, and I felt a little bit of shame. I just breathed through it and let it move through me. Now, the queen mother of all shame that I felt yesterday was telling you guys I have hemorrhoids. And, I stuck a little bit extra toilet paper in my underwear since Tony asked me about wearing white pants and do they get dirty. And all afternoon I was thinking, well, do I got a spot back there? I had some shame telling you guys that. But I've been practicing revealing my shame for so many friggin' years that you can even feel shame and just let it move through you. So let me just ask you guys. This is a question you can ask women, by the way. Did you trust me more or less by sharing those 3 shame things with you? More. Yeah. I'm human. I fuck up. I got body parts that don't always work right. And I just talked about it and told funny stories about all of it, right? That kind of comfort in your own skin is amazingly attractive to the feminine. The feminine is not looking for perfection. Most women out there are not looking for a guy with the Bentley or the Mercedes, or I've dated with a Volkswagen Jetta, a Subaru wagon, a Mercedes E-Class, a BMW 330 Ci, and it did not affect my dating skills whatsoever. It didn't matter what car I was driving. And dated not even owning a car when I lived in Mexico early on. So getting comfortable in your own skin, the work these men are doing with you is so powerful. That way, if you are interacting with people everywhere you go, and one of them happens to be a woman you find attractive, you're just moving whatever energy through your body you need to move. She doesn't feel anything weird or creepy or like wanting to, run from it. And if it feels good, they want to get more of that. And that's what, for women, that's all that attraction is. They just want to get more of the good feeling they experience when you are close to them. That's all that it is. It is nothing more than that. And there's a lot of ways we can give women that good feeling. And a lot of this program is about that. Mark talks a lot about it. But that's all that attraction is for a woman. They feel something, it feels good, they feel it when they're near you, therefore they want to keep being near you because they want to keep feeling that.
You mentioned, and this is a separate topic if you don't mind, but we hold on to women too long sometimes.
I do.
So can you give me some advice on when I need to shed a woman when it's not working? What are some thresholds, some rules, laws, principles?
All right, let me think about this for a minute. Let me think if I want to continue to take questions about this while we're in the vibe. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Ask the question again tomorrow, because it's a very good question. But let me kind of stay in the vibe with this. Now, yes, being a good ender, recognizing a woman isn't a great fit or somebody you want to be with long term, allows you to keep walking through more open doors, right? Because as soon as you stay with a woman that's not a good fit, you're actually locked in a closed door, right? There's no open doors that are going to open for you as long as you're there. So being a good ender is indeed part of this. But let me take more time tomorrow to go deeper into the good ender part. I'm shitty at it, by the way. So that's why whatever I'm most shitty at in life is what I've had to work at, and it's what I tend to teach. So we'll come back to it tomorrow. So be sure and ask me again. All right, you had a question, Jonathan.
Yeah, so I understand how approaching can be invasive, but I have so much growth approaching.
I bet you do. I bet you've grown tremendously, and it's still invasive. It can be both. It can be invasive, and you've grown a lot. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying you just need to know that women in general will feel invaded if they've not already noticed you or have some dynamic interchange with you.
But I think it doesn't really matter though.
Yeah, it matters a shitload. They're human beings.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but what?
they're not gonna approach you.
Yeah, they send you signals. They send you shit tons of signals.
So that's what you mean by the door being open?
Yeah, they've sent you indicators of interest. They're just subtle.
What if they haven't seen me and she's talking to her friend and I want to go and talk to her?
Go talk to her. It's invasive, but go talk to her. I'm not saying she'll have a negative reaction, but it is inherently invasive.
But to me...
Well, what's with all the buts? The buts is you want to talk to her. Okay, let's just stick with that. Let's not argue, is it invasive? Say, okay, I realize it's invasive, but I want to talk to her, so I'm going to. Okay. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying know that it is inherently. Now, it's hard for us guys to understand because we men would love it if women approached to us, if an attractive woman started talking to us and being friendly to us, we would love it. But we haven't been fucking invaded all our life and objectified for our body parts. None of us have. Maybe a couple of you have, but most of us haven't. Okay, so I'm not putting a judgment on it. I'm just saying you just need to know that. And I'm saying there are more authentic, energetic ways to interact with women other than you objectifying her for a collection of body parts and saying, I know this is invasive, but I want those body parts. That's really what we're doing, is we want the body parts because we don't know what's inside their head. We don't know what's in their heart. Now, if we can just accept that's what it is, we don't have to have judgment of it, but it is what it is.
I understand.
Okay? Yeah. Back behind
Go
you.
overcome some of those signals, because I always interpret everything as, oh yeah, she is coming up, and interpret it wrong.
Okay, well, maybe you're not interpreting it wrong. I would say err in the direction of like being a little bit too grand and bold about it. If I was single again, and like I said, my awareness of those signals has gone up since being married. I would just as default believe every signal I thought might be a signal of interest. I would by default assume it is, and if I had interest, I would then approach and interact and see how high their interest is.
You got time to go over a couple more of them?
Pardon?
Go over it?
I'm giving you the best ones. What more do you want?
Yeah, it's, I don't know.
The women in the room, have I pretty much given the things women do? They smile, they look your way, they make eye contact, give you a little cleavage, move close to you, touch your arm, laugh at your jokes, jut a butt out. Yeah? Those are basically it.
That's obvious.
Yeah. And you know, I've had women write their phone numbers down for me and give me a piece of paper. I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? That's almost a billboard.
Am I looking too hard into it then?
Yeah, you're overanalyzing it. Probably because it's triggering self-limiting beliefs. What if I look foolish? What if I make a mistake? Guys, you got to be willing to look foolish and make a mistake. You got to. Now, if you're doing this with some degree of integrity and consciousness, it's not going to feel bad to the woman if you misread it. Now, the other thing to keep in mind, a life, something that evolution wired into women that is life-preserving is the need for attention. Now, you guys aren't blind. You've been here in Miami Beach for a few days. Have you noticed a few women that seem to want some attention? Have you noticed that? But what's interesting is while they're seeming to want attention, they actually don't look anybody's way. They just walk like this, like, look at me, look at me. Now, that's really all that it is. They just want to be looked at. Feminine is validated externally. Okay, I got a 10-minute signal. Feminine is validated by external value in it. By when something outside them says, "Oh, you're worth looking at," that's validating. Does that mean they want to go home with you? Often not. So we men get confused by that because well, we just think, if they're doing stuff to get our attention or even flirting with us, that must mean they want to be with us. Well, I found out when I started dating, like I said, in my late 40s and into 50s, no other way to say this, a lot of women are flakes. A lot of single women especially are flakes. There's a reason they're single. There's no reason on this planet that any woman should be single unless she's, too flaky to actually be in a relationship. So you're going to meet a lot of flaky women. Right? And a lot of these flaky women like a lot of attention. Especially, how many people have done online dating? Well, you'll find with a lot of women on online dating, if they're moderately attractive or better, they get constant attention from a lot of men. A lot of women on online dating have a hard time closing the lid on that toy box and just settling down with one guy. Well, no, I got to go take another peek. There might be other guys wanting, paying attention to me. Attention is built into the feminine DNA. So realize that even though they may be sending you signals that draw your attention, that's why you have to go test and see how high the interest is. Don't assume, oh no, I misread it, but don't assume just because they sent a signal they're going home with me. You got to go test, find out for sure. Okay, other questions? Sean.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're just saying be social, be a nice person, and just go up and talk to people like you would, like a normal type of thing. But then you mentioned being bold.
Yeah.
How do you know when to be bold?
All the time. Why wouldn't you be bold all the time?
What kind of things would you be bold about?
Everything. I keep this shit as simple as I can, guys. Yeah, she's back there nodding her head. Yeah. I said about everything. She's going, uh-huh. And so we'll win all the time. She's going, uh-huh. All right. Be bold all the time. Now, okay, guys, you're going to go out sometimes. You're going to be tired. You just want to chill. You just want to relax. You don't even want to interact with anybody. That's great. I do that all the time. I just go out alone just to chill. And what's still funny is that just who I am energetically still seems to attract attention of the feminine. Now, often that attention can be like dogs, cats. I mean, when I go to visit friends that have cats, I'm allergic to them. And the cats always come get in my lap or crawl up on my shoulder. And people say, that cat never goes and gets anybody's lap. Why is it in your lap? It just happens. I stayed at an Airbnb a couple weeks ago when my wife and I went out for our anniversary. And the host had a house right next to the little casita we were in. And they invited us in. We had drinks a couple nights. They had a young 1-year-old dog. And this dog, by the last night I was there, we'd be sitting having drinks and talking, and the dog is sleeping on my feet. Female dog. Why? I don't know. There's just something about me energetically that attracts feminine. It just happens. So even if I go, I was in a Starbucks in Marina Del Rey. This is like 3-4 months ago. I just sitting down, working on my laptop. Some young woman sits down across from me at this table. It's just kind of enough for 2 people. She just doesn't say a word. I don't say a word. Didn't think much of it. I get up, leave, go get a sandwich, go outside, sit down in an outside eating area. And I'm, just got my sandwich. I'm eating out there and I look up and she's moved. She's now sitting right in front of me, about as far away from me and Tony. And she looks up, notices that she has my attention, and then squares her body up straight to mine and opens her legs a little bit. Indicators of interest, okay? Now, and then I kind of thought, what the fuck? In my single days, I would have gone and tested it to see, all right, how high is her interest? But I'm married, don't have interest in it. So I actually, then the sun was on the back of my head. So I turned my body 45 degrees, had a hat on, and I don't know if I was reading in my Kindle or something. I look up a few minutes later, she's now sitting in front of me over there. I don't know why. I'm in Marina Del Rey, everybody's driving fucking Bentleys and Ferraris, and I'm just hanging out and I'm not talking to her, I'm not doing anything, and this woman keeps putting herself right in my line of vision. I don't know why. Now, if I was single, I would have been bolder and tested. I would have gone and just sat down and just chatted about whatever. It doesn't matter. If they're already showing high interest, the door's already open, you don't have to be clever. You don't even have to think of a lot of shit to say. If they're already interested, they'll take over the conversation. You just kind of got to go with it and be playful and, do the dance with them. So if you feel like being bold, be bold. If you want to just chill. It's okay. But boldness is attractive to the feminine. Always will be. Okay, other questions? I just got a couple more minutes. Back here.
So about the open door, closed door idea. So the first question would be what if women that I'm not attracted to are sending me signals?
I'm glad you asked this question.
So is not necessarily my ideal woman, but that's where I'm kind of leaning toward now is seeing if I can attract her to me.
And what is your ideal woman? Does it start with physical traits or does it start with generosity and love and compassion?
Well, there is.
Yeah, okay, I know. All right, I'm glad you asked the question because I always get asked the question. That's a good question. And I mean, believe me, I validate the question. Guys say, well, especially on online dating, they go, how come the only women that reach out to me are a lot older than me or fat? Okay, and that's our idea. The open doors are all going to be the undesirable women. That's not been my experience. It's not been my experience. My experience has been, I've had so much to choose from. I'm not making this up. Every woman I've dated and women I've slept with have all been significantly younger than me. I told Mark the other day, I think I've slept with 5 massage therapists. All of them initiated with me. Every single one, including my present wife. They all initiated with me. I've been with strippers. I've been with models. I've been with CEOs of companies. I've been, all I can tell you is that when I took my focus off of, does she have the perfect body that turns me on like the porn that I'm obsessed with looking at, which I don't look at porn. I'm going to encourage you guys, if you do, we can talk more about that. Stop. It's not good for you. But we get obsessed. We're culturally bombarded with attractive women. So of course we want that, right? Of course we think that is going to fill me up, give me good sex. I'm just going to make a general statement. There's exceptions to it. The most attractive women I've been with have been the worst in bed. The lesser attractive women I've had a blast with. So you want a good time in bed? Or do you want somebody that your friends will go, oh, she's hot? What would you rather have? So I'm not saying settle in any way. I'm saying, but you got to change your mentality of what's going to make your life better, what's going to bless you. Right? And what I've found is that those open doors have a whole variety. I remember there's one coffee, I'll wrap up with this, a coffee shop I used to hang out in underneath my apartment when I lived in Bellevue. I was kind of, people called me the mayor of the coffee shop because I was always there, everybody knew me, blah, blah, blah. One woman who I later found out graduated from the same high school as my mother, a year ahead of my mother, so at that time probably late 70s, told me, if I was 20 years younger, I'd be so into dating you. And I thought to myself, maybe 30 years younger. She made a point to tell me that she was a cheerleader in high school. At that time, I didn't know she graduated a year ahead of my mother at the same high school as my mom. At the same time as that, I knew this young woman from about 17, 18, 19 years old was the daughter of a friend of mine who I got to know in the coffee shop. She had a crush on me. I mean, everybody knew, said, you know, she wants you to do her. Yeah, it was obvious. She wanted me to take her to bed, right? And she was bright and she was funny and she just had a mad crush on me. I never took her to bed. I actually met her in Mexico one time and stayed in the same hotel room with her. Did not do her because that just wasn't where I wanted to go. And her father said to me, you know, Robert, it's so funny that Audrey's got this crush on you. I go, yeah, as long as the dad thinks it's funny that his 18-year-old daughter's got a crush, we're good, we're okay. But so at the same time, 18-year-old, 70-something-year-old, and everything in between with lots of variety and lots of interest, all open doors. You get to be the decider, right? This, you don't really get to decide anything. That closed door decides if it's going to open or not. This, you get to decide from a smorgasbord, a buffet of all kinds of interesting treats. I don't know about you guys, but that's the world I'd rather live in.